On Saturday night, 34-year-old speedboat captain Navindra Kublal and his friend were robbed of more than 3.5 million Guyana dollars worth of cash, jewelry, and mobile phones while they were eating at Hongxiang Chinese restaurant on the West Bank. CCTV footage shows two masked gunmen robbing the patrons, and one of the gunmen can be seen aggressively and unsuccessfully yanking Kublal's multiple chains off his neck. The two thieves were seen pulling off in a white 212. The police have arrested one of the suspects in connection with the robbery. He has been identified as a former TSU rank, 22-year-old Christopher Cornett, a clothes vendor of B Field Sapphire. He was arrested today at his mother's house. On Tuesday, 24-year-old Mark Anthony Henry was remanded to prison for the brutal murder of his 68-year-old neighbor, Suraj Dio-Chand, allegedly out of revenge for his brother, Joel Henry. He was not required to answer a plea to the charge and is expected back in court on April 28th. Yesterday, the body that was recently discovered on the West Bank was identified as 19-year-old computer science major Joel Skeet. Skeet had went missing on March 31st. He was last seen leaving the barbershop at the Harbour Bridge Mall at around 7 p.m. How he ended up in the river, we don't know, as the police have yet to state if this was an accident or if foul play was involved, but a post-mortem examination has given the cause of death as drowning. Slippery-fingered security guard Daquan James is now under arrest after he accidentally fired his 22-gauge shotgun at the Moon Supermarket in LBI on Wednesday morning. James, a now former worker for Northwest Security Service, reportedly called his former employer immediately after the incident. Fortunately, no one was injured, and hopefully James is never allowed near another weapon ever again. Like, ever. The La Soufrière volcano in St. Vincent erupted early this morning, sending nearly a 6-mile-high plume of ash into the air less than 24 hours after authorities declared an emergency and ordered about 20,000 residents to evacuate. Overnight, hundreds of persons were evacuating by road and sea to shelters, relatives, and friends in the safe zones. However, heavy ashfall also was reported in communities around the volcano and even outside of the red zone. Multiple CARICOM governments, including ours, have already pledged to mobilize national relief once St. Vincent sends a list of what is required. The Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency has activated its emergency response system and has deployed logistics experts to the island. The La Soufrière volcano last erupted in 1979. According to the police, they have arrested 2 individuals in connection with the murder of 23-year-old porter Roy Ross. This morning, a neighbor found Ross dead in his house in Swan Village on the Soestdijk-Linden Highway. His body bore multiple stab wounds. Police have since recovered a blood-stained jersey at the suspect's home, which is located a few houses away from the crime scene. A neighbor is also accusing one of the men in custody of having threatened to kill someone that night, but they did not take the threat seriously until after Ross popped up dead. Over the weekend, the Rona Task Force arrested 46 persons for breaching the curfew order. The operation began at the start of curfew and continued through the nights. The curfew breakers were all loaded into a GDF bus and taken to a police station where they were charged for breaching the regulations. The Joint Services operations will continue tonight, and similar operations in other regions are expected to take place. Early this morning, police in Port Kaituma arrested a 45-year-old man after he was accused of threatening to shoot a laborer at the waterfront with what is probably the scariest looking gun to get shot with. I mean, look at it. If the shots don't kill you, the tetanus certainly will. Well, what's even more scary is that when the cops searched him, the gun actually dropped right out of the man's pocket, which makes it amazing that no one accidentally got shot by that well-worn tool when it fell down. Anyway, the man whose name they did not release is still in police custody, where he rightfully should be. The police force has suddenly decided to refute reports that state cameras near the Palm Court weren't working on the night Ricardo Fagundes was murdered. In fact, they claim that the cameras were working, and in fact, they are currently working to enhance the images in the shots. because it should actually take some time to do so, because unlike what you see in CSI Miami, it's not just as easy as just double-clicking on the image and saying enhance, enhance, enhance until it comes out clearly. There's a lot of science behind this. Anyway, this response is interesting, seeing as the media didn't make up the story about the cameras not working. In fact, Robeson Ben was the one who said that the cameras were down for maintenance, allegedly. But Leroy Smith says that he spoke to someone in the National Data Management System, and they too say that they did pick up the vehicle on one of the cameras, but the driver seemingly attempted to evade the gaze of the cameras, suggesting that he may know something about these things. On Easter Monday, the mother of one of Kanu's fugitives fulfilled her promise to the cops to turn her son over. About a week ago, police busted into the home of 32-year-old Raul Farrell, looking to slap him with a set of weed charges. Farrell was able to escape, but not before abandoning 1.5 kilos of cannabis. Before the police left the home, Farrell's mother arrived at the scene, expressing abject horror to learn that her son moved out of the house only to become a pusherman. So she promised to make him surrender, and sure enough, on Monday, their lawyer accompanied the two to Kanu headquarters. Farrell is expected to appear in court on Wednesday. Chief Justice Roxanne George has set April 26 for the ruling on the election petition filed by the coalition. After oral submissions today, the Chief Justice explained that while she had hoped to deliver judgment within 2 weeks, the arguments and discussions pro-offered will result in additional time being needed. So basically, they just said far too much to really look over in 2 weeks. So, the 26th it is. 25-year-old Shaquille Punch of Friendship East Bank Demerara is now dead after he was reportedly electrocuted on Tuesday after he tried to connect an iron to an electrical outlet in his home. According to reports, the now dead man was going to iron clothing for an outing when he died. Family said they heard screams, and when they ran to the man's house, he was lying on the floor motionless next to the iron. The public health sector is starting to feel the strain as they deal with more cases of the Rona requiring hospitalization. There are now 70 persons hospitalized with the disease, with 54 of those cases being treated at the Rona View Hotel in Liliendorf. Do keep in mind that the nation barely has the capacity to treat 100 of such hospitalization cases. What is even more concerning is that in the past week alone, the country recorded 469 new cases and 17 deaths, leading some to believe that the more contagious strain of the virus may have already reached us. Unfortunately, local medical labs do not have the ability to verify this yet. The IMF has more than doubled its forecasted GDP growth for 2021. They originally predicted a growth rate of just 8%, but that has now been increased to 16.4%. Good for us. The 16.4% GDP growth will be the third highest in the world this year, after Macau and the Maldives. Last year, the nation experienced a historic 43.3% GDP growth because of the oil and gas sector. In 2022, the IMF predicts that GDP growth will exceed 46%. This is probably not in little part due to the fact that we are going to have another ship coming here to drill oil in that time. 3 days after he turned himself over to the police, Rondell Bacchus was released today on $100,000 station bail. The GDF confirmed that Bacchus was released on station bail after his attorney filed for his release. While he was not charged for anything in connection with the murder of Ricardo Fagundes as yet, the police said that he has since been charged for damage to a police vehicle and will make a court appearance in that matter next Monday. Yesterday, more than 1,000 persons in the mining district of Aranca in Region 7 were affected by severe flooding caused by heavy rainfall. The CDC said that about half of the village's population has been affected. Aranca has a population of about 2,500 persons, so you do the math. The Disaster Response Agency said it was deploying a team to support the relief efforts to the communities whose main means of transport is by boat. The weather forecasters warned that Region 7 and other areas of the nation should expect moderate to heavy rainfall from Friday until Sunday, with coastal areas expecting to receive up to 4 inches of rain over a 24-hour period. Now, hey, UNCUT News viewers, thanks for watching. You can subscribe by clicking on this button over here, or click over there for more news. You can also drop a comment to let me know if you've made it to the end of the video. Goodbye for now.